Here's the last 24 hours in geopolitics. In the United States, Washington has raised military readiness across several bases in the Middle East. Pentagon officials say forces are preparing for a longer confrontation as tensions with Iran continue to escalate. In Iran, leaders are warning that the conflict could expand beyond the region if attacks continue. Military units across the country remain on high alert as missile exchanges intensify. In Israel, the military has carried out new strikes against targets linked to Iranian forces and regional militias. Air defense systems remain active as the country prepares for possible retaliation. In Lebanon, tensions on the southern border are rising after reported exchanges between Israeli forces and Hezbollah fighters, increasing fears that a second front could open. In Saudi Arabia, officials are closely monitoring oil infrastructure as the risk of regional instability threatens one of the world's most important energy hubs. In the United Arab Emirates, diplomats are quietly working with global partners to prevent the conflict from spreading across the Gulf region. In Russia, leaders have warned that the current escalation could push the world toward a far more dangerous geopolitical confrontation. In Ukraine, heavy fighting continues along the eastern front lines as peace negotiations remain frozen with no clear breakthrough in sight. In China, economic planners have lowered growth expectations for the year, citing global instability and slowing trade. In India, investors are reacting nervously to rising global tensions, while political and security leaders continue hosting major international strategic discussions in New Delhi. In Turkey, officials have again offered to mediate between rival powers, positioning the country as a possible diplomatic bridge in the crisis. In Poland, authorities have urged citizens in high-risk regions to remain cautious as security concerns across the Middle East continue to grow. In Nigeria, security forces are responding to fresh militant activity in the northeast, highlighting the ongoing struggle against extremist groups. In Afghanistan, regional diplomacy continues quietly as neighboring countries attempt to prevent the wider geopolitical tensions from spilling over into Central Asia. In the United States, lawmakers are debating new military funding as global tensions rise. Defense officials say the world is entering a period of growing instability. In China, military activity has increased near Taiwan as Chinese aircraft and naval vessels carried out new patrols around the island, raising concern across the region. In Taiwan, defense forces have been placed on heightened alert after the latest Chinese military movements near its airspace and waters. In Japan, the government has warned that rising tensions in the Pacific could threaten regional security and has strengthened surveillance around nearby sea routes. In South Korea, military officials are monitoring North Korea after reports of possible preparations for another missile test. In North Korea, state media has issued new warnings against the United States and its allies, accusing them of increasing military pressure in the region. In Germany, defense leaders are pushing for increased military spending as Europe prepares for long-term security challenges linked to Russia and global instability. In France, officials say Europe must become more strategically independent as global power competition intensifies. In the United Kingdom, intelligence agencies are increasing monitoring of cyber threats as geopolitical tensions rise worldwide. In Italy, leaders are calling for stronger cooperation between European nations to handle growing security risks. In Brazil, economic officials are warning that global instability could affect trade and energy prices across South America. In Argentina, financial markets remain volatile as investors react to global political tensions and uncertain economic conditions. In Egypt, authorities are strengthening security around key infrastructure as instability across the Middle East raises regional concerns. In South Africa, leaders are urging global powers to avoid escalation and return to diplomacy to prevent a wider crisis.